Hey guys, it's Justine here from I Should Read That, and today we're going to talk about some books that I meant to read in 2018, but didn't. For no reason other than I just ran out of time, because apparently there aren't enough hours in the day, because no one will pay me to read. Most of these books I actually bought in 2018 and just never got around to them. Some of them are new releases, some of them are slightly older. I have a book from 2017 here, but I really still want to read them all. And I want to have the time to read them all, and hopefully I'll get to them all soon. But time. The very first book that I wanted to mention is a young adult book. It's a historical fiction book, and it's one that is hugely popular. I don't know if I'm gonna like it or not, and I think that's the reason I haven't read it yet, because I feel like it could really go one way or the other for me. This is Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco. This book is about a young woman named Audrey Rose, and she wants to be a forensic scientist. However, she is a Victorian woman, so chances of that happening are pretty slim. And of course, as the title implies, this is the time in which Jack the Ripper is stalking London and murdering women. So presumably she's gonna go after Jack the Ripper, and I know that there's a handsome man that pops up along the way, and there are couple goals. That's pretty much all I know about this book, and I feel like even though this book has been really hyped and everyone's really excited, I think there's 3 books out now and a 4th one's being worked on, I haven't quite been hit by the hype monster, so this might be one where the hype does not interfere with how I will feel about the book, which has happened before, and I am really looking forward to this. I think that regardless of how I feel about it, it's going to be a really fun and fast read. The next book that I have is another young adult historical fiction book, and this one looks really interesting because it looks like a fantasy that doesn't actually have any magic in it, although I can't confirm that yet because I have not read this yet. This is Sky in the Deep by Adrienne Young. This is a Viking novel, which is very exciting, and it sounds super cool. I bought this right when it came out. This is one of the first books that I pre-ordered because I used to not pre-order books at all, and I just never ended up picking it up. I just never got around to it for whatever reason. This book follows a girl named Elin who is a member of a Viking clan, and her clan has this fierce rivalry with another. Now, 5 years ago, her brother died on the battlefield. She watched him die. However, during battle one day, she sees her brother fighting for the other side, so she has to uncover what's going on, and eventually she's going to have to unite the clans. This sounds really cool, it sounds really interesting, and I am 100% here for Viking fantasy. This sounds super cool. I never got around to it, but I've heard really good things about it, despite the fact that I've not really seen it mentioned much on BookTube itself. A lot of the reviews that I've seen have been from bloggers, so that's really interesting to me. And I know that the second one, I think, is due out maybe next year, and I think I'll need to confirm, but I think the next one will be a companion novel rather than a straight up sequel, which is very exciting because I love that. Next, we have a book that I am super excited for, and the reason that I hadn't read this yet is because I hadn't read the second book in this series yet. This is Before Mars by Emma Newman. Now, it's funny to say that I hadn't read the second book yet, because these are companion novels. As I said, I really love companion novels, and there's really no reason for me to have needed to read the second one, but I can't read series out of order. It's just a thing. So I've been waiting to read After Atlas, which is the second book, because I loved Planetfall, the first book, so much. And in fact, Planetfall is listed as one of my best books of 2018, and I can link that video below if you'd like to check it out. But I absolutely loved it. I love her writing. I just love everything about these books. They're like such incredibly meaningful and deep sci-fi. They're just so incredibly good. So all of these books are, I think, sort of different from the ones that come before, if that makes sense. So the first one deals a lot with sort of mental health, and it's a very traditional sci-fi book in that people go and colonize a planet. And the second one, it takes place on Earth, and it follows the son of one of the people who left her child behind, and he is a detective and he has to solve this murder. This third one sounds much more like a psychological thriller. Before Mars follows a character named Anna, and she is a geologist who is traveling to Mars to serve on the base there. And when she gets there, she finds a note in her room that's written in her own handwriting telling her to not trust the colony psychiatrist, which is very mysterious. Then she finds a footprint in a particular area of the colony on Mars that no one has explored yet. So something is clearly going on here. Is Anna kind of losing her grip on reality, or is something bigger going on? One of the things that I love about Emma Newman's books is that she really writes characters who have so much depth to them, and I particularly love the fact that she said on Twitter that she writes a lot of her own mental health struggles into her books, and this one sounds particularly interesting to me. I'm very excited to read this. I'd like to read it very soon because I believe we have a fourth one on the way, and I'm like so excited. Next is another 2018 release, and this is a book that so many people have been talking about, and I think it won the Goodreads Reader's Choice Award for Best Fantasy Novel. I bought this back in May, and I just never got around to it, despite the fact that I would really like to. However, it feels a little bit daunting. This is Circe by Madeline Miller. Now, not only is this a beautiful book, like, check this out, this is a feminist retelling of Circe, who is a character in Greek mythology. I love Greek mythology. I was completely obsessed when I was a kid, and this looks like it's going to be fantastic. However, I know her writing is a little bit on the slower side. It's very beautiful, and her books are supposed to be very beautiful. She wrote The Song of Achilles as well, and I am just a little bit nervous that this might be a little harder to get into. It might be a book that takes me a little bit longer to read. There are very silly reasons to not have read it yet, but what can you do? The next book that I have is a 2017 release that I snatched up on release day. I bought a signed edition from Waterstones, and then I just never got around to reading it, which seems slightly ridiculous. This is A Skinful of Shadows by Frances Hardinge. So Frances Hardinge's books are super weird, and I really like them. I love her style. She wrote The Lie Tree, which is one of my favorite books ever, and you should totally read it if you haven't read it yet. But something that I like about her is that she writes kind of complicated women, and she writes very kind of spooky, very creepy type books, and this looks like it's going to be that exactly. Her books are super weird, as I said, so I can't quite get a grip on what exactly this book is about, but it is about a girl named Makepeace. She is 12 years old, and every night she has to fight off demons who want to possess her, and one day one slips in. That's really all I know about this, and for Frances Hardinge's books, I feel like that's all you really need to know, because she's one of those authors who's amazing to just dive right in, because you're never going to be disappointed. I don't know why I haven't read this yet. It's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous. This looks like the exact kind of thing that I would love, but for whatever reason, it just fell off of my radar. I meant to read it last year. Then I meant to read it in the winter earlier this year. Then I meant to read it in October of this year. And now it's being pushed to 2019, so I really want to get to this one soon. We'll see if that happens. The very last book that I have here is one that I think I've talked about recently. I think it might have been in my 5-star predictions, maybe, but it's been on my TBR for a while, and it came out in August, maybe, of this year. It came out in the summer. I've been super excited to read it. It sounds so great. I started it, technically, and then just got swept up in arcs and new releases that I had to read for publishers, but I'd really like to get back to this one. This is City of Lies by Sam Hawke. City of Lies is an adult fantasy novel that looks amazing. It looks super cool because one of the things that I love in fantasy is court intrigue and politics, and it sounds like this book has a lot of that. This book follows a character named Jovan, and he is the royal poisoner. He knows all of the poisons. He keeps the royal family safe. There have been many years of peace. However, one day, one of the court diplomats is found poisoned, and Jovan has no idea what that poison is, and there are armies at the gates. I've heard nothing but great things about this book, and I know that a lot of my adult fantasy blogging friends absolutely love this so much. I'm so excited to read this. This is coming up really soon for me. I want to get this done soon. It's probably the highest priority out of all the books that I have on my list. So that is it. Those are some books that I meant to read in 2018, but oops, that just didn't happen. So in the comments below, let me know if you've read any of these. I would love to hear what you think. Also, if you had any books that you meant to read in 2018 that kind of slipped between the cracks. I post bookish content to this channel fairly frequently, so hit subscribe, check back soon, and I will see you next time.